y'all bringing it. Yeah, like yeah.
Very
Like, I'm like, really? What was I really supposed to dress to match the background? Like y'all.
No. I know you're not coming in here with the earrings and and all that and talking about. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
We're live. Hi, friends.
Hey, that was the longest time to get us live ever. Hey, everyone. Hey, it's Rashida.
It's Stephanie.
And we're here with Jackie.
Hi, everybody. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're here tonight talking about building a community while you're abroad. And so I think the first place to start is your experience abroad. Let's tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Wow, guys, I have been living this abroad life for over 25 years. Like I've been doing the thing for a good minute. It started, I mean, I think I've always had the travel bug, but it started like when I said, deuces, I'm actually going to be out, when I was 15 years old. And this was pre-YouTube, this was pre-Facebook, this was pre-Google. I was going to the library because I'm 41 years old. So like all those things didn't exist then. And I researched a scholarship that would get me to study abroad for a year, because my mama didn't have, I think, the $3,000 then that it would cost to study abroad for a year. My mama gave me 25 cents for a stamp, because that's how much stamps cost then. And probably 6 to 8 weeks later, I was on a plane to Germany by myself, my little Black self, to study abroad at a German gymnasium. Never have taken German in my life before, for an entire year. Okay.
And this is high school, right?
High school. This is high school, girl. High school.
Okay. Real quick. What did your mama say when you were like, I want to go to Germany for a year?
So I will say that my mama, like, God bless her, she is probably one of the open-mindedest down. Like, if it makes you happy, go do it. I don't understand it, but like, if it makes you happy, go do it. Because I mean, she had to sign the paperwork for me to go, but she was just like, Germany, right? Black people, Germany. Okay. All right, like right,
nice,
yeah. And this was times where I'm sending her postcards, right? Because there's no email and stuff. I'm sending her postcards and stuff home. Phone calls, there was no WhatsApp, so phone calls were super expensive. Like my phone bill and my little was $500 a month, me calling home. But I loved it, and I got that little bit of taste of freedom, and I got myself a Eurail pass and my little backpack, and just started crisscrossing across Europe. I was lucky enough to have a host family that were in their 20s, so they were super young, and they were actually also from the former East Germany. And so their family was all on the eastern side of Germany, so got to explore all of Eastern Germany, and then went to like Budapest, like Romania, like places where Black girls, I don't think they had seen at that point. And was just like living my best life, so much so that it was time to come home. It was really like, I was like, no, I think I'm gonna stay here for a while. And it was like, yeah, no, you're gonna come back and go to college. And I was like, no, I think I'll just bartend in Europe for the rest of my life. And that was no.
So your mom was down with whatever you wanted until then, right? That was it.
Yeah, exactly. She was like, yeah. And so I got pulled back, and I'm glad I did, because then I went to Spelman, where I was just introduced to more, Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, where I was just introduced to more of that international lifestyle. And Spelman back then and now is a college that really encourages young women to study abroad. Go out, like your junior year, you need to be gone. And so turn around 2 years into Spelman, my junior year, I'm back on a plane again, went to study in France, and then spent a semester in France, summer in France, in the south of France, which I loved, like just hanging out on the beach and learning French. And then I studied in Spain for a semester as well. And just from there, it was just like, all right, we're going, like, this is going to be my life. And that's what it turned out to be. So yeah, so just from there, I went to law school. After law school, there was a former president. His name was William Jefferson Clinton. I don't know if you guys have heard of him or not, but but he was looking for some attorneys to go to Ethiopia and launch his Clinton Foundation. So had the privilege of moving to the Horn of Africa and working there for a few years, just helping to launch some of his HIV initiatives there.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many years? A few years.
I'm sorry?
How many years is a few years? How long were you there?
So I lived in Ethiopia for 2 years. And then the only reason I left, because I really did enjoy Addis. The only reason I left is because then I got a Fulbright and I got a Fulbright to Indonesia. So I actually ended up spending 2 years doing my own research in Indonesia, which was just, and not Bali. When I say Indonesia, I'm actually, Bali's not my spot. It was in Java, and so I got to go to lots of different islands, as part of Indonesia, and I do speak Indonesian as well. So I'm really quick at picking up languages, which also has helped me crisscross the globe a lot.
How many languages do you speak?
So I can get by probably in about 5.
So you call yourself an OG, a digital nomad OG.
Yeah, I'm OG because I've been at it for a minute.
How long has it been since you've been like a person who lives in the US?
So I'm in and out. When I was pregnant, so I have a daughter who's 2 years old. So I'm doing this lifestyle with my toddler. And when I was pregnant with her, I was living in Nigeria. And so I always say in utero, she did 11 countries in Africa and 4 countries in Europe. Cause like literally like my doctor had to tell me to go sit down. So, and in fact, I came to the US and I had her in San Francisco. Because I had worked for a while in San Francisco. And then I got back on a plane when she was 10 days old. Yes, 10 days old. I booked her and myself on a plane and was like, you know what? Like, this was fun, but I'm ready to be out. I'm ready to be out again. I'm ready to be out again. But I did come back to US when she was a little older, and because I've done a couple cross-country trips across the United States with her. So we have, like, she's done all the big national parks in the United States. Like, we've done both east,
She's
west,
2.
west.
She said a little older.
Oh. What is?
Jackie said when she got older.
Well, she started when she was 10 days old.
Beloved, like what? Okay, so Jackie is a prime example of like not letting your children be the reason you don't travel. Because 10 days old, she's been to all the national parks by the time she's 2.
Look, and it was so funny because I got on the plane and like people were like, "Oh, aren't you nervous?" Blah, blah. She sleeps, and I was breastfeeding at the time, and she like eats, like that's what she does. So no, like at that age, they're probably the easiest to travel with because there's not really that like, I mean, you're nervous, but other than that, like as long as like she sleeps and she eats, as long as I had my boob and diapers, I was good.
Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's pretty much become her norm. So when people are like, it's so funny because every time we get on a plane, people are like, "Is this her first plane ride?" And I'm like, "Oh, try like," she has like, one of the airlines gave her a little book that I'm supposed to get stamped by the pilot each time we get on a plane. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. And I'm like, try like 50th, 60th, like.
Baby Ruth be going. Baby Ruth damn.
Baby Ruth gets down, and like she's completely fearless, and I love that about her. And when it comes to forming community, I will say that Baby Ruth has been a game changer in terms of like meeting people, because nothing breaks people down like seeing a kid, especially like a quote unquote like foreign kid that people are just fascinated by. And because for most of Baby Ruth's short life, she has been in Central and South America, because that's where we have been spending most of 2019 and 2020, and a great portion of that in Guatemala. She speaks Spanish. I mean, to the degree a 2-year-old can, with her vocabulary, and she speaks Sutuhil, which is a Mayan indigenous language. So like when she's at the market and she points to a fruit and says it in Sutuhil, like literally the market shuts down. And everybody comes just to see this little chocolate girl speaking Sutuhil, which is a Mayan language that even Guatemalans, like other Guatemalans, don't speak. So it's pretty awesome and amazing. It's truly helped me. Like we've been invited to so many birthday parties, quinceañeras, like all of it, just because of my daughter, and just the fact that for her it is so just normal that people are around her and talking to her and interested in her. And she truly like just, I mean, I'm not an extra, I am definitely an extrovert. Like I don't think I could have lived this life that I've lived for the last 25 plus years if I was bashful or shy. but my daughter only helps, especially when you're in environments where people truly are child friendly, not in a way they say in the US where like this is child friendly and then you get on the plane and everybody's looking at you like you ain't sitting next to me with that child.
Mm-hmm.
But where people are like, yeah, oh, your child about to fall out? That's what 2-year-olds do. Like nobody's really tripping, right? Like people are just more interested in just making her happy and being content and just learning about you and your story, which has just been just so awesome in terms of traveling, but then also just exposing her to different people and having experiences that are outside of like the expat enclaves. And that's another bit of advice that I would give anybody who is interested in living abroad or traveling full time. Like, yes, there is safety and there's comfort in expat enclaves, but don't just spend all your time there. And when I say expat enclaves, I mean they got the American enclaves and they got the expat circles, which are people from all over the world who may be in the place you are. Do not forget to immerse yourself in the local environment with the local people because there's just such a richness to gain from there. And that's truly when you just get to like know a place. Like I can say now in Guatemala, I've gone to places that I think very few tourists have. And it's just because I've just gotten out there. I mean, I take weaving lessons. I took weaving lessons with a Mayan woman who didn't even speak any Spanish. I speak Spanish, so that helps me a lot, but who didn't even speak any Spanish or very little Spanish. And she took me to places inside like the market to buy material for weaving that I don't think I would have ever, I know I would have never found. Um, if I hadn't just gone out there and been like, you know what, like she don't speak Spanish. I don't speak Hill, but guess what? I'm just going to push myself. I'm going to get out my comfort zone. I know that all of communication is not language. In fact, most of it isn't. And I'm doing something very tactile. So, like, if she can explain it to me by gestures, and, you know, there's other people in her family who do speak Spanish. So, let's just try this. And, like, when else am I ever going to get to, like, try to learn weaving in my life? Like, I didn't have that class in school when I was in college.
I saw, well, so I saw that you were in Travel Noir, I believe, and it said that you lived on a lake in Guatemala. And I said, oh, Atitlan or whatever, right?
Yep.
The lake that everyone, all the travelers know, right?
Yes.
All of the it's like the backpacker
Yes.
lake. But that's not where you were. You were in your own, like you were in a place that is away, right? Or you
No,
want
so
to
I was on, so the lake is actually pretty huge. And the lake, there are a lot of small towns like around the lake. Now, the town that I was in is called San Pedro. And San Pedro is definitely very popular in the backpacking circuit. It also, the lake itself is very popular in like the bohemian, yoga, all those vegan, like all those communities go there for like spiritual awakening. It's always interesting. I mean, I say that in tongue in cheek because like a lot of people go there and teach yoga and healing and awakening. And it's like, well, you actually got a group of people, the Mayans, who the corn cycle, like the corn growing cycle, all these practices have been actually a part of their culture for thousands of years. So like they don't actually need anybody to teach them those things, like at all. Like traditional medicine, like they got that. Like I don't need to go to you from Sweden to learn those things. So, but yeah, so I will say in that town, the town I was in was super small, 14,000, but because it was so many tourists came through, there was just always an eclectic array. I mean, you get sushi there. So, there was lots of things to do.
Okay. And how did you find out about like the weaving and the, was it a class or you just went to the lady and was
No,
like,
it was just we just went to late. Like no, like again, if you just happen to go into town, like you would never ever find her unless you saw. And it truly was just me having conversations with people. Now, again, your girl Jackie O will talk to just about anybody about anything, and I will get down. And one thing I did learn when I was there was my numbers in Suto Hill because like I am a master negotiator in the market.
are you?
I'm half Nigerian, so like we don't like you can't cheat us. And so because of that, I just started developing all these relationships with these little old ladies who were merchants in the market and just talking about like different things. And I will also wear a lot of traditional Mayan shirts. And so I'd always ask women, like, where'd you get yours from? Blah, blah, blah. And eventually the conversation evolved into, I want to make my own. And from there, I was like, does anybody know anyone? And they were like, well, there's some women's cooperatives. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to the women's cooperative because those cater to mainly like tourists. Like they're highly overpriced. Like I want somebody who like, this is like what they do in their home. And then just chatting to people, eventually somebody brought me to this lady and they're like, but she doesn't speak any Spanish. And I'm like, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is okay. And we would sit down, we'd have coffee, very strong Guatemalan coffee, and like some bread. And sometimes we'd have some beans and rice, and we would just get, and we would spend, because I mean, it takes a while to, to weave something. I'd spend 3-4 hours at this lady's house. Her grandkids would come in and out, and it was a beautiful thing. My daughter's out there just playing. It was just a beautiful thing.
Do you feel like do you feel like you're treated any differently because you're a Black woman in that small town in Guatemala?
Oh yes, absolutely. And I would say, but it's multiple layers, right? Like I think that it's not necessarily like Black woman, because they've seen Black people before. There's a Garifuna people in Guatemala. So like even in that small town, being a Black person is not necessarily something they're like, ooh, ooh. Now, being a 6-foot Black woman, which I am.
Oh, okay.
With indigenous Mayan people who very rarely get taller than like 5'5", 5'6". That is definitely something that makes me stand out. But I think that, and this is another thing that goes back to building community and understanding community, also understanding the privilege of your passport and the privilege of the US dollar, right? And recognizing that like that privilege, and that kind of trumps a lot of the even the prejudice that they might even have for like Garifuna or darker skinned people. Like they're like, oh, this is a Black woman from America. And regardless of even the political situation in America right now, there's still very much, America is an aspirational brand. Like it is something that people around the world look up to, as like that kind of that beacon and that light. And even as a Black person coming from like America, like people are very curious and interested and want to have conversations about what's going on in America. And that's one thing I also find out, like, if you want to talk politics, I feel like people around the world are just so informed about what's going on in America and want to chat with you about it. And if you could especially do it in their language, which at this point, my Spanish is good enough that I can, for me, it just opened up so many doors because, and that's another tip that I always give to people who are interested in moving abroad. I would do at least 1 to 2 coffee meetings a week with just about anybody. Like if I met somebody in the market, like let's go meet for coffee. I got it. Coffee's not that expensive, and just chat with them about life, like what it was like growing up. What are some of the best places to go for whatever I'm looking for? And that's truly how I got to really learn the community. I got to learn Mayans have a certain calendar and they have a certain astrological signs that are different from like Capricorn or whatever you may be. I got to learn that. I got to have like a reading. I got to learn about traditional medicine. And I love gardening. So I got to go up into the mountains with one of the farmers there. And he just taught me some traditional Mayan gardening techniques. So it was just all about just getting out of my comfort zone, talking to people, like, and especially during coffee growing season, like when people are out doing the beans, because Guatemala is famous for their coffee, right? So that was another reason. But all around the world, people drink coffee. But it was like, all right, even learning about like how coffee beans grow. Like I didn't see that in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I was from. Like I'd never seen a coffee like actually on a coffee tree. So it's just pretty amazing. No, I did see it in Ethiopia because Ethiopia calls itself the birthplace of coffee. But it was just amazing to just have those conversations with people.
Do you think that if you were an introvert, you would still be able to meet people? Can you imagine introvert Jackie O?
No. It's so funny to me because like when I meet like another like extrovert, like I remember talking to this lady at the airport and her husband was like, you two are like soul sisters, you both never shut up. And I'm like yeah. So I would say I could still have experiences, but I think they would definitely be different, right? Like for me, I'm not bashful with my language, and I think it's because I've constantly been in places where my language skills aren't going to be perfect, but I want to get what I want to get done. And so I just put myself out there. And then I see my daughter, right? Like she's 2. She's the best example in the world. Sometimes I have no freaking idea what she is saying. I don't know the words coming out of her mouth. I don't know if they're English. I don't know if they're Spanish. I don't know if they soup the hill. I just know. But she is so adamant when she's trying to get like her point across that I'm like, if I can't look at that little 2-year-old who's like, you gonna understand me, like, Now, if I can't do that with my 41-year-old self, then like something's wrong.
So you've never had bouts of loneliness because you just go out and start talking to people and have coffee
So,
with them?
yeah, I mean, there will be bouts of loneliness, and I'm going to keep it completely honest with that. And there's also, right, because especially when you're in environments where no one speaks English well, and there are people in Guatemala who speak English well, but I'm saying for the most part, when you can't necessarily have conversations that have like the nuance, right? And you can't understand conversations that have the nuance. In the beginning, some of your conversations are super superficial, right? And I, particularly, am a person who likes to get in like to the nitty gritty of like stuff, even if I'm sitting there talking about corn, which I've mentioned a couple times, but corn is so important to Mayan culture, right? But like if I can't name the different parts of the corn, I don't even know if I can name them in English actually, but like if you can't do that in Spanish, then there's only like so much like that you can really start to get into understanding like the nuances of language. But that's where for just getting out there and just asking like what's this, but that's also very exhausting, and that will be something I will say that happens a lot, right? Like I have to, in order for me to show up as my best self, particularly when I'm in environments where the primary language that I'm speaking in or am or learning is not English, I gotta make sure I get my rest. Like I have to, because it is physically and it's mentally like exhausting. And that's sometimes where the loneliness comes in, because like I don't want to translate in my head anymore. Like I'm tired. Like I just want to have a conversation with somebody and be able to be like, hey girl, hey. And they just get and they just intuitively like, get what I'm saying, right? But I think that's also why for me it has been so important to also just maintain like my sister girlfriends around the world. At this point, my girlfriends call me Harriet because I'm always on the run. And they have no idea. Like they're like, oh, she's gone. She's on an underground railroad. She'll pop up somewhere in the world sometime soon. But like having check-ins with them, and that's the beautiful thing about technology. And that's why I say when you are living this lifestyle, like use technology is your friend. Like as many WhatsApp groups if I have my girlfriends from high school. I got one for my girlfriends from college. I got one for my girlfriends from law school. I got one for my girlfriends from grad school. And then I got one with my digital nomad girlfriends who could be anywhere in the world where they're just popping up stuff. And then we have happy hours that we do regularly. I have for my really close circle, I have one-on-one check-ins. I have mentees all over the world that I check in with Zoom and email and even, whatever thing Google created. It works sometimes. Just to have conversations and just making sure that you're still connected with folks back home. Again, I think I told you guys before we even started filming, is that one of the things that is so important to me is that my baby girl Ruth have the same sort of relationship with my mother, which is her grandmother, that I had with my grandmother Ruth. And so that's pretty much at least once a day, Ruth is doing some kind of FaceTime with her grandma. And it's not even long, right? Because she just turned 2, so her attention span is not like she gonna have a 2-hour conversation with her grandma, but like just showing her what she's done for the day. Like one time they just watched Peppa Pig together. Like grandma was just there, and my grandma's like, "Is it over yet?" But just doing things just so they can like maintain it. And so anytime we get off a plane from anywhere in the world and we're back in Pittsburgh, now she's running. Like my daughter will like run to her grandma because she's not a stranger to her. I mean, she might be this little woman that normally she sees on this little box, but she knows who she is. She knows who her family members are, and she still feels that connection to them, which is part of what I want her to have, right? Because I don't want her I want her to be confident. I want her to be self-assured, but I also want her to know that she is surrounded by an amazing global tribe of women and men, because I got a lot of brothers who got our backs 100%, who are just supporting her, uplifting her wherever she goes.
Because we're not just talking about maintaining or building community with other people. You also have to maintain community with your family, with the people that you already have, even if you're not in the same place.
You do, and you also got to like know. I mean, one of the big things when you move abroad and you start moving internationally, and you have friends who kind of stay in the same place, right? Like what you're interested in and your conversations in your own head may be different, right? And sometimes you kind of tend to like downplay other like, oh, that's just some like Pittsburgh thing that Pittsburgh people think. And it's like, no, like that is their reality. So you got to learn to kind of respect that. Like, yeah, no, they're not interested in what's happening in Guatemala right now, because like what that got to do with the block, right? And to me, to truly be global, you can't dismiss anybody's reality. And I think when you start living that international lifestyle, it's easy to say like, oh, like you're just so not sophisticated. Like, why are you just worried about this? Like, why are you talking just about like football or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, like, and especially as a mother, like now I want my daughter to be just as comfortable sitting there talking about the Steelers on Sunday as she is talking about like protecting like the Sutahill Mayan language from extinction. Like I want her to easily be able to go back and forth between those two, because I think there's importance to all of that. And when you're building community, when you are finding community, when you are maintaining community, it's really, really just important to remember that like everybody's not going to have the same perspective that you have. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. You just got to meet people where they are.
It's really important. Your story is like so impressive to me.
Thank you, ladies.
I don't know. It's one question that I wanted to ask, which is totally off topic, but it's what I do. You mentioned that you're half Nigerian.
Yes.
I was going to ask you before you said that if your parents were immigrants.
So my dad, yes. My dad came to the United States actually to go to Howard University. So my family's a big HBCU family. And my mom actually had traveled like extensively before I was born. Like now my mama, she ain't going nowhere but her front porch and back porch. But definitely before I was born, my mom had logged up some international travel miles. I mean, my mom was in Moscow in the 1960s, like when it was like the Cold War. I mean, she studied for a bit in London in the UK. So she was pretty international and traveled herself. And so were a lot of other people in my family. So, and that's another reason when you say, like, when I brought up leaving the country at 15, eventually even at 16, what my mom, I think that was another reason why she was so open to it, because she had done it too.
And now you're passing that on to your daughter, who
now I'm passing it on to like my daughter, and like we'll see where it goes. But I said, like I always feel like it's this I was telling my mom the other day, I said, Mom, I gotta bring Ruth back to the States. She's only done like 32 states, and like she'll be 3 next year, so I feel like she's behind.
Oh, Ruth,
pick it up,
ma'am. I was like, she'll be 3 next year. Like I feel like she might be a little behind.
How are you gonna feel when Ruth turns 15 and she's like, okay, Mom, so here's the plan. I'm leaving. I'll be back. Maybe I won't. You good with that?
In New Zealand.
I feel like it's gonna be like somewhere like she's like, Mom, I'm going by myself somewhere in like Antarctica, and I'm just gonna. And you know what? I feel my personal philosophy around like parents is that like it is up to me as a parent to expose my daughter to as much as I can, both mentally, physically, and spiritually, just to give her the option so she can live the life that she was meant to lead. And it's not for me to decide that for her. So if at 15, 16, she's ready to like explore the world, I'm going to support her in every way that I can.
Can you tell us how you're feeling so your mom, you said, is not going anywhere with you right now. She's not going to go anywhere. How are you feeling being out and about with a mom who is maybe approaching senior citizen?
So so funny, because I was having a conversation this evening about what it's like solo traveling or slow traveling and having an aging parent. And my mom, she's in a big house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, all by herself. And she'll be 75 next year. Don't nobody, if y'all see her, don't tell her I told her her age, right? Because like, listen. And that is definitely something, I think about a lot. Just because I know there will be either a point where, and I'm an only child, and, I still have that Nigerian and Black culture in me, in the sense that like my mama ain't going to a nursing home. And so I will be the sole caregiver of my mom. And that weighs on me a lot. And also the fact, I'm also a single parent, right? So there's both those things. I got to take care of myself because I got a baby to raise, and I ain't a young mama. I'm 41. And then I have an aging parent who I also have to take care of. And so I have to make sure I'm both in like a mentally, financially healthy place as well, because I need to be able to, if I have to come back to the United States, to be able to get here relatively quickly. So making sure my money's right, so I'm not stressing. And I've been able to do that. But then also I just make more frequent trips back to the United States, which for me is fine because I slow travel, I work for myself. And so I have that flexibility. And when I think of my, my future life, and it's like, you know what, and I'm in such a place now that it's like, if I got to come back to the United States for 6 months, for a year, like that's fine. Because it ain't forever and you only get one mama, right? And I have now been able to get my mama in kind of a place. Like we just got her to renew her passport. The last time she had renewed a passport was 1976. So and we turned in that old passport when she was applying. They were like, wow, okay. And I have been having conversations with her at least about would she be open to going somewhere at least like Mexico, Central America, where she could easily fly into like a Houston or Miami for healthcare and all that other stuff. And she has been somewhat agreeable to it. Like, so we'll see, because Pittsburgh winters are real. And like I'm a sun chaser. I don't do as soon as like a place starts to get cold, bye. Like I don't do cold places at all. So
15 boycott winter over here as well.
Yeah, like I don't.
So do you feel like she's going to be able to make some compromises maybe down the road?
I feel like, I mean, would she ever leave her house like permanently? Like no. But I mean, it's also having, I mean, I'm a former attorney, right? So I have very real conversations with my mom, and I did for a while do some estate planning work. So I mean, we have I'm her power of attorney. We have all her, her living will and all, and I have all those documents for myself. And I say that to anybody who's moving abroad, especially if you're moving abroad as a parent, if you don't have those documents, then you need to think about getting them, because they are just so, like, if you're not thinking about your own death as a parent and what's going to happen, your parenting plan for your child, should something happen to you, then you're just being an irresponsible parent. Like, that's just my general philosophy. And so with my mom, it's like the same thing. Like, Mom, I want to have these conversations with you while you're in a sound body and mind of like, how do you want, like, what do you want for yourself? Like, how do you envision if you some kind of way become incapacitated, et cetera, how do you want to be taken care of and where do you want to be? And we've had those conversations, which is important.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So you told us before we got on, and sorry for everyone, we were delayed. My computer doesn't. Anyway, long story. We tried to get out on time.
We did.
You mentioned that you were teaching a class before you came on. So can you talk to us about what your face? I can't tell if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Can you talk to us about the services you offer? Because you do teach classes around travel, right?
Yeah, that's all good. So I was teaching. I just started. We are in what week? I teach a 6-week course for Black women, just for Black women. That's it. And I get a lot of pushback on social media about that. But I know my audience. I know who I do well with. On just moving abroad, how to move abroad, how to travel full time. It's a lot of single moms. In fact, probably 50% of them are single moms. The other 50% are probably women in like their 50s who are ready to transition to somewhere not the US. And so we just go through every single thing kind of related to moving abroad. And I think one of the biggest things that I really love, and this is one of the things that I also wanted to bring up in this session here, when you talk about like finding community, is like getting your mind right. I think that there are so many people who want to move abroad, which is amazing, it's a good thing, but they're like running away from something, which isn't necessarily always like the best thing, right? Like, yes, you can want to change of a scenery. There can be places that you thrive in, right? Like for me, that's by the water. I love being by the water. I love sun. I feel like I'm the best version of myself. But then there's other things that like you can't necessarily run away from, and that's yourself. Like I know what my triggers are, and I've put in a lot of work, both through therapy, and I recommend like everybody should see a therapist at least once in their life, like probably more than once, because we all got issues that we need to work on. We all got traumas that we got to deal with. Like I'm very honest. Like I've been doing this life for 25 years. I stopped for a bit and was like kind of aimlessly. This is my second daughter. My first daughter passed away. So I am a bereaved mother. And there was a lot of work that I had to do to get me into a place where I felt like I was ready to have like another child, and even ready to have conversations like about that. Right. But if I had just gone back out, into the world, without dealing with my internal stuff, it didn't matter where I was. It wouldn't matter where I would be in the world. Like I'd still be a miserable human being. And so I tell everybody, you got to get your mind right. Like, like Lauryn Hill said, like, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? And there's so much truth to that. That the real work in setting yourself up for success when you move abroad starts all right here, because that's truly what counts. So we have a lot of discussions about that. Then we just talk about the reality of living abroad. I mean, we do the practicality stuff, right? Like how to find a place, how to find a nanny, picking your ideal location or locations, how to make money. But then there's other stuff like the subtleties, like colorism. Like especially you go to Central South America, even like the African continent, the difference between African Americans and Africans. Like I think that, a lot of times I do have a lot of women who I either coach or who are in my course who really want to go to West Africa. Ghana's Year of the Return was highly, highly successful, right? But people think that, and this actually does happen, they do have drums welcome you at the airport in Accra. But like the reality is like everybody in Africa ain't welcome you with drums. In fact, like some people don't even see you as African, even though you may consider yourself an African American. And you just gotta be able to deal with that and understand what that means. And then also understand and respect the various cultures and ethnicities within various continents and countries. And so we just talk about like, we read lots of books. Like it's just a good group. Like sometimes we have sessions with wine and we just chill. I mean, it's a formal program, but it's just, for me, it's just it's a good time with just an amazing group of Black women. And I'm very selective about who I pick for it. Most of it's just all referrals, just because I always say I'm a Yoruba woman, so energy matters, and who I surround myself with matters as well. And the older I get, the more discerning I get about the company I keep. And I tell all my clients that as well, like, attract who you want to be around.
Are you still doing, I know this is live, and so if the answer is no, you're going to be upset, but are you still doing 15-minute coffee chats?
Yes, I still do. I always book time. No, I always book time in my calendar to do some 15-minute coffee chats.
Can I drop the link to that?
Yes, you can. You absolutely can.
Good thing you asked first.
You absolutely can. Look, you're like, are you still doing it?
Okay. All right. So what has been the most challenging thing for you about forming community as you traveled?
I would say the most challenging thing is being vulnerable and opening up, right? Because you can always form like superficial community. You can always form people who know you at the market, people who know you going down the street, but actually like building, and remember, I slow travel. So Ruth and I are probably moving every 8 months. So every 8 months, I am shutting down. I'm saying goodbye to a community that I've formed, and I'm going someplace new, and I'm building it up, mostly from like the ground up. Now, I had lived in Guatemala before, so I already had community there, but most of the time I'm starting completely new. And that literally means like I'm have these people I'm comfortable with. They know me, I know them. I'm starting to get the intricacies of the culture. And then I'm gone. And then all of a sudden I gotta like explain stuff to people. I mean, even something as, I feel comfortable with you guys. So even sharing, the story of my oldest daughter who passed away, right? Like that's not necessarily something you share with people the first time you meet them, right? But like when you build relationships by being vulnerable and by talking with people and by having like those conversations, and doing that again and again and again it can get tiring, and it can get difficult. Now, the thing about it is I've learned to push past that, because I truly enjoy all the global friendships that I have. And when I do like meetups with like all my friends from around the world, it's just like amazing, like having them all on the phone, or I have, a Zoom, because I was doing Zoom birthday parties even before COVID-19, and just, having these like meetups. And, right before COVID-19 went down, I had a group of my friends come and meet Ruth and I in Colombia to go to Carnival, right? I think Ruth wasn't even 2 yet, but yes, she's been in Carnival. She's dancing the parade. And it's just so amazing to have like this eclectic group of people who come from all different aspects of your life and have different languages and stories, just come together and just have a cool and amazing time. So in the end, for me, it's all worth it. But it's still, it's very just difficult to just continue to like let people in, because at some point, even in my mind, and like I said, I'm super out there. I love talking to people. I love being open with people. But in my mind, I'm like, I got a lot of friends. Like, I don't need no more. But then again, I'm in a new place, and it's just like, wow, like what you going like? It's just gonna be you and Ruth all the time, and a lot of times it is. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I spend an awful lot of time with my daughter, but again, that is also by design. And I will tell people, I think one of the reasons why I'm such a strong mother is because I put myself in situations where I'm not stressed. Like I truly am living like the life that I want to lead. I get enough sleep at night. Most of the time I'm in countries where childcare is relatively like affordable. So when I want, I got a day nanny, night nanny. So I'm good. Like if I want to sit and just drink a glass of wine on the balcony overlooking the lake in Guatemala, like, and know my daughter's being well taken care of, I can. And because of that, I can show up every day when I'm with her, and just be that much stronger of a mother. Cause I ain't sure, like, I, I think I screamed once because I saw like a scorpion in my house, and my daughter burst out in tears because she'd never heard me scream before. Because I don't really got a reason to scream. Like I can talk to her like she's a person, because she is, and she can respond to that.
How do you find a nanny? Well, I guess you do speak Spanish. Is it easier because you speak Spanish, or would you still be able to find a nanny if you didn't speak Spanish?
So yeah, so I think it's both. Like I think that um for nannies, expat circles are very good, because you can usually get like a nanny who has gone through like a couple families, and people can vouch for her, and say good things about her. But then I think that for me, especially when like you're in small towns as well, speaking Spanish also helps, because not only do you have expat families who may vouch for somebody, but then you can go into the community and you can get like family members like vouch for people. And that's very like a small village, and that's an African type thing where like somebody's like, if they steal something from you, I'm the one responsible. You come back to me, like, and I will find where they are. And that's what you want, especially when you're having somebody watch your child. And even for me, and like I've been doing this for a minute, I gotta ease somebody into watching my daughter, because my style of parenting is definitely like pretty free and open. I definitely am a card carrying believer of like conscious parenting and learning through like play, and getting my daughter outdoors probably like 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And so there she goes. It's bedtime, and she's not. She's about to make her way in here. She's about to make an appearance, y'all. But she got snatched up, so she's not happy. And so and you want somebody who's somewhat aligned to that. And like, if I was translating to somebody in Spanish, like, oh, I practice conscious parenting, like first they'd be like, what you talk about? Like they like right. So it's not necessarily using those words, because I mean, I know how to say conscious and parenting in Spanish, but the translation would make absolutely no sense. So it's just making sure like the person just aligned in terms of like patience, and just how like what they respond to children. So yeah, I think finding a nanny, and especially I think when you're outside the United States, because I think when you're in the United States, and especially me, I know I am like grew up in like the milk carton child, right? In the sense of like terrified of getting kidnapped and my face being on a milk carton. And that and baby swapping, like those are two things. Even when I had my daughter, like she did not leave. Look, I grew up when kids was getting swapped. And so and so part of it is even kind of letting go, not being trusting your intuition, because I think intuition is a powerful force that you need to listen to, but also like letting go of like all that noise and that garbage. You think that like everybody's out there trying to be a predator towards your child, because for the most part, especially when you're kind of out and about, that's just not the way it is. I mean, people are very loving and open and warm. And I'm thankful that, I have a daughter who can just go outside and just play with other kids on the street and just be a child, like how kids are supposed to be. And everybody's looking out for her.
Yeah. It's amazing. Ruth sounds like she has just like the best life. I love it.
Let's see what Ruth says in 30 years.
Let's see. After therapy.
Yeah, exactly. After therapy. Yeah. Let's see what her therapist says.
for a live chat.
Yeah.
The book Ruth for a live chat.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They want some Ruth.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
I feel like we did a good job hitting the questions. Let's see.
I feel like it too. If you guys have questions that we didn't answer, drop them in.
Charisma said having help, that's a concern for her too, as a single parent, having help. Well, I guess she's so new. Ruth is still pretty new, but do you feel like, did it take some sort of adjustment for you to accept some help from someone? Not the safety issue, but like the help issue, like the idea that you're not going to do all of this.
No. And there's a couple things, right? Like I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. I'm very clear about that. Like even in business, right? Like there are some things that I am super, super good at, and there are some things that I just need to outsource because like it ain't worth my time and it ain't bringing money in. And I feel like the same way in the sense about parenting, right? Like I truly enjoy spending time with my daughter. Like I truly enjoy spending time with my daughter. But there are some things that I don't necessarily like enjoy. Like I not necessarily like the best cook. I don't necessarily even enjoy cooking. Like every once in a while I'll throw it out and we'll make some cookies. But like the fact that I can like outsource all that to like a housekeeper, and every day she's preparing like amazing like waffles and like nutritious breakfasts and lunches and dinners for my daughter, and that's more time that I can either have fun with my daughter or just do something else, like mainly do, hang out with my girlfriends, etc., drink wine because I love to drink wine. And the same thing goes with parenting and assigning some of those tasks to like someone else. Like I love going to the beach with my daughter, and pretty much every morning, even before her nanny gets there, like I'll take her out on our paddleboard and we'll go out in the lake and we'll paddleboard for 2 or 3 hours. She got her little life vest and she just sits up in the front and we like we have a good time. But then mama gotta work. Like the reality is mama still gotta work. And so then that's when I gotta do I do the handoff and I pass her off to her nanny, and like she can continue to have fun. And the reality is that the way I've designed my life is that I live so close to the beach in Guatemala that like I'm on my balcony, I can see her running up and down the beach with her nanny, building sandcastles and doing all those things and headed down into the market and all those good things. So no, she's having fun, she's having safe. And as a parent, like what do you want for your child? You want your child to be happy and safe, and she's those two things. And no, and I don't believe you can have too many people loving your child. So you want her here.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Steph, I didn't see the link for the 15-minute chat show up in the comments, but we did have questions about it. So if you can give us a little 2-sentence, 3-sentence blurb about those 15-minute coffee chats, you're about to get booked up once Stephanie drops that link.
So, I mean, truly, like, and when you book it, you should get like, as you book, there's like a questionnaire of what do you want to get out of it, because it truly is what do you want to get out of it. Now some people, it's just they want to talk about a certain country. Some people want to talk about like what it's like being like a single mom and offering like advice, and it usually goes a little bit more because as you guys can see, I'm a little bit long-winded. So as long as I don't have anything booked afterwards, I usually spend a little bit more time just chatting about whatever. Some people are just like, I have this in my head. I spend a lot of time talking with people about like finances, just because I am a big believer. So I've done it all, right? Like I've had development jobs expat jobs where I've actually been employed by either a company or an NGO outside the United States. I've done like remote work. I've taught English. I've never taught English in elementary school, but I've taught at university. I've taught English at a university. Now I have 6 different businesses that I run. And so lots of times, I mean, I feel like the 2 biggest things that I usually talk to people about, and that's because it's their choice, are fear, family, and finances, which are usually the 3 things that are holding most women, particularly Black women, back from moving abroad. And it'll be, how did you build up your businesses? And I always tell people the way I'm able to sustain myself even now is because I've developed multiple income streams. I mean, all the women who work with me, even the ones who are abroad and are still part of my circle, They all have at least 3 income streams, right? Because like you never want to just depend on one. And the way I go about teaching my program is that they don't even have to be huge income streams, right? Like you could have a Etsy store where you're doing t-shirts. Well, I got one, right? Where you're just selling $500, $800 a month. Well, if you're living in a country where the cost of living is $2,000 a month, that's already like your rent and half your expenses right there, right? And so you just gotta think of it like that way. Like, what are different ways that I can bring in money that like make sense to me? And the same with, I got a lot of women who just want to talk about, oh, well, I want to start a course too. And I always say, like, go for it. Like, no, this market ain't like saturated. Like, there's somebody willing to learn everything. I mean, I've talked to women who want to become like expat coaches. Like, go for it, sister, because like I ain't for everybody and like you're for somebody too. Like, so there's no, I don't necessarily believe in like oversaturation in the market or the whole idea of like competition in that way, because like there's somebody I speak to and then there's somebody who's like, yeah, well, we don't vibe. And that's okay. That person's perfect for somebody else. And why not? Like, I'm always referring people to other expat coaches, to other things, programs that might actually make more sense than mine. And so we just have conversations about all that. Like, how did I build like a course? How did I build like coaching? Like, what do your numbers look like? And I tell any woman who, when you're talking about like financing, understand your numbers and get comfortable with like money and like understanding money and like budgeting, because that will get you far, particularly if you decide, like I decided, I ain't never working for nobody else besides myself again in life. Like it ain't happening. But that goes back to knowing my why. I don't like people telling me what to do. Like, and it doesn't matter where I'm in the world. Like, I just don't like it. And so because I know myself that well, it's like, I know I got to bring in my own money. And because I got to bring in my own money, and because now I'm a mother, so I'm responsible for another little itty bitty, I got to really get comfortable with my finances. And also because I work for myself and I'm aging, being old and being broke ain't cute. And I ain't trying to be that way, right? So I got to make sure I'm putting a nest egg away from myself, because Spelman in 20 whatever, when Ruth is going, is probably going to be $35K a year. So I got to make sure I can pay that, and I'm probably going to be too old to work.
Ruth got to go to school in the Netherlands, where it's too.
Yeah, I know. I've always said Ruth's gonna go to Spelman, and I'm like, Ruth's probably gonna, turn 18. She gonna have another thing. She's like, Mommy, I'm gonna go to forest school and somewhere. And I'm like, oh, okay, in the tundra of somewhere. And I'm like, oh, of course you are, Ruth. Of course.
Mommy, I'm gonna bartend around Europe for the rest of my life. Just wait.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait for it. Mm-hmm.
So Bertie told me that your life in Guatemala costs you about $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
With a nanny.
Yeah, with a nanny.
With cooking.
With somebody to prepare my meals, all like that good stuff. It does.
On the beach.
Like on the beach. Like, yeah, I live like a house overlooking like the beach, 2-bedroom house. And I tend to, now, there's 2 things, right? Like I tend to live in very low cost places, very low cost, beautiful places. But again, I'm not a budget traveler in the sense of like, I need my comfort. I'm at this point in my life. I did this in my 20s, but it's just not where I am now. I don't do hostels. I'm not necessarily into like, I don't want to wake up and see nobody else. Like I'm set in my ways. Like when I go to the fridge and I put something there, I want to open it up and I want it to be back there. Like I'm like, I am who I am. Again, that's understanding your why. That's knowing yourself. Like it just is. Like I've lived in the developing world long enough to know that I like to have power a reasonable amount of time. And it can be like when you're living in places in Africa, when you're living in Central and South America, power can be an issue. So making sure I even know the questions to ask, like about how like having AC, air conditioning, what rooms air conditioning are in, how you light your stove. Like these are all like nitty gritties, and unless you've been doing it for a while, you might not even know to ask. Like, does your place have a generator? How often are power outages? Like all these different things, like I kind of know to ask because I know what I need to be comfortable. And I'm determined to be that way. And because for me, moving abroad has also been something that I can use to clear debt, because I graduated from law school and graduate school, because I got 2 graduate degrees after I went to law school. with about 150K of debt, right? And I have been able to chip away at that debt because my cost of livings are now. Sally Mae ain't getting all my money, but she gets a good portion because I want to eliminate that debt. And in fact, like this year, I'm buying two apartment buildings just because I've been able to save enough money and now I want to go into real estate and I want to have more different, add another income stream to myself. So I'm getting ready to invest in. I'm actually getting ready to close in the next 30 days on 2 buildings, just because for me, I got to make sure I'm continuously having reliable income sources.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Everybody loves it.
Listen, they're in here like, I don't know if you saw a post Laura made. I commented to her. We were talking about how many lawyers there are in this world. I'm one, Laura's one. We've got a bunch of them. So there's a post, I'm going to tag you in it for all the lawyers who got out in one piece. Yes, the challenge. But every time I see another, I find out there's another one of us. I'm like, we're here, we're deep.
Can I ask you, the real estate that you're investing in, that's in Pittsburgh, is that right?
It is. And but next year I'm buying a place, and I'm just going to put it out into the universe because I believe in the power law of attraction. Next year, 2021, I'm in negotiations to buy a place in Kenya as well on the coast.
What are you going to use that place for?
I'm going to Airbnb it.
Okay, because I had already invited myself. You said Kenya and the coast, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to swing through. So next year, I'm putting it out into the universe for all of us.
My friend bought the place next door, so I'm like, okay, it's all aligned. Okay. Like it's gonna happen. And like that's what I said. It goes back to just having this amazing circle of like girlfriends, because this place is not even technically on the market yet. But the folks are retiring and they want to go back to Europe where they're from, and it's a gorgeous beachfront place, perfect for Airbnb. And I'm like, I'm just claiming it.
Okay. Yes, it's yours.
Yeah,
it is yours. I love it. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you for blessing us with your time tonight. Everybody, like we have gone so far off topic, but the people wanted it. They wanted the off topic. One of the questions that was asked a few times, I want to cover it. Is there a price associated with those 15-minute chats?
No, they're free, completely free.
Okay. So people?
Yeah.
Free. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's free. Like do it. Like I'm always happy to chat with people. Like I said, I'm not for everybody. And if I can help direct you to somebody who might be a better fit for you during our call, I'm always happy to do that. And I'm always happy to just offer as much advice as I can, because people have blessed me with an abundance of advice and wisdom. So play it forward.
So if you had a question for Jackie that didn't get answered tonight, you know what to do. You know where to go. The link is here. Go. Click. Get over there. Talk to her. Spend 15 minutes or more.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love chatting. I welcome it. Book up my time. I appreciate it. Like I love chatting with you ladies. I'm to you too. Like, thank you for this amazing community you guys have created. I couldn't see most of the sessions live, but I went and saw some like the playbacks, and I'm like, yeah, this like you, and just seeing the comments and just seeing all these like beautiful sisters, like it truly is like amazing. I'm learning about like sabbaticals and house sitting and all that good stuff. Like it's amazing. Like in fact, a woman had reached out to me 2 days ago, and I was like, no, you're a perfect candidate for house sitting. I'm about to hook you up with someone.
Yay.
Yeah. So no, I'm appreciate you're definitely expanding my repertoire as well. And I think it's important to have environments and spaces for Black women, not women of color, Black women.
Right. So do we. That's why so many people have been declined.
Some of them coming back multiple times. Beloved. Just say, this is not one, to decline, sent a message, decline twice, hit us up on Instagram.
Nope.
It's not. I don't know why you want in here so badly. There are other spaces for you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Jackie. Please tell baby Ruth we said good night. And maybe we'll see you guys on the globe somewhere, around the globe.
Oh, we definitely will. And I'm gonna be checking out everything amazing that you ladies are doing. I think I followed you both on social media. Like I love it. So just keep it like truly like keep it amazing. I am definitely cheering for y'all, rooting for y'all. And I can't wait for this happen again next year because I know it is. I'll just put it out there.
Okay, before you go, tell everyone where they can find you on the internet.
Okay, like you can always DM me on Instagram. My handle is the Jackie O Life. Um, it is JACKIE. That's how you spell Jackie. And if you want to check out my website, it's www.thejackiolife.com.
All right. I dropped the IG link. Are you doing the website link, Sheeta?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't. Sorry.
I'm just asking.
But I will do it now because I have it up.
I have it copied and pasted.
Okay. It's teamwork. It's teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork. Yeah, exactly.
I just hadn't done my part of the team work. That's all.
No, that's not
I'm
correct.
I'm kidding. You're having flashbacks to the other day?
Yes. I don't want people mad at me for yelling.
She yelled at me the other day and it hurt my feelings so badly. She wasn't yelling. She was the only person who thought she was yelling. She was firm with boundaries for my own good.
Oh, okay. That's good. Okay. I can appreciate. That's something you have to say thank you to somebody for.
The people let me know about myself.
She was, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being in the group.
Fantastic.
We appreciate you.
No, the group is amazing. I love all the questions coming through. I'm going to spend more time in there as well. So I'll pop in there maybe this evening too. If somebody has some more questions for me, I'm happy to answer them in real time. So, and again, I wanted to thank you guys for making this just a safe, beautiful space for Black women. Like you both are to be commended. I'm super proud of you all.
Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. I know. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime. All right. Bye, ladies.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.